The evening rush at the Nebula's End diner had finally subsided, leaving Anna to wipe down the last few tables in her section. Her 4 slender fingers moved in practiced circles across the synthetic wood surface, her pale violet skin catching the soft amber glow of the overhead lamps. She'd been working at this human establishment on Station Kepler 442 for nearly 3 solar cycles now. Ever since her family had fled the Zephion colonies during the war, the humans had been kind, mostly. They tipped well, smiled often, and rarely stared at her cranial ridges the way some species did. But tonight had been different. The man at table 7 had been unusual from the moment he walked in. Albert, according to the name that flashed on her order pad when he'd checked in. He was older than most patrons, perhaps 50 solar cycles by human standards, with gray threading through his dark hair and lines etched deep around his eyes. What caught Anna's attention most, however, was the way he carried himself, shoulders straight, movements precise, eyes constantly scanning the room as if cataloging exits and threats. A veteran, she'd thought. She'd seen enough of them to recognize the signs. Albert had ordered simply synthesized protein, standard vegetables, water. No alcohol, no dessert, no small talk. He'd eaten in silence, methodically, while Anna had tried her best to provide good service despite his cold demeanor. She'd refilled his water 3 times, asked if everything was satisfactory twice, and received only curt nods in response. When he'd finally stood to leave, Anna had hurried over with the bill tablet. Albert had paid exactly the amount owed, not a credit more, not a credit less. 0 tip. Anna had felt her secondary heart sink. She didn't work for tips alone, but they made the difference between sending money home to her younger siblings and barely making rent. Still, she'd forced a smile and thanked him politely. Some customers were just like that. She couldn't take it personally. Now, as she cleared his table, she noticed the plate was positioned oddly, deliberately placed at an angle with something white peeking out from underneath. Anna lifted the ceramic disc and found a folded piece of actual paper, a rarity in an age of digital everything. Her hands trembled slightly as she unfolded it. The handwriting was angular and precise, written in standard galactic common. Dear Anna, I apologize for leaving no digital tip. The Syndicate tracks all electronic transactions, and I've noticed you've been marked. There are 3 of their agents in this station to Krell. 1 Velocian. They've been watching you for the past 2 weeks. I don't know what you or your family did to earn their attention, but I know the Syndicate's methods. They'll make their move within the next 48 hours, likely when you're leaving work through the service corridor. Under this table, I've magnetically attached a small case. Inside you'll find minus 5,000 credits in untraceable markers, a Class B ion disruptor set to stun, but adjustable coordinates for a safe house in Sector 7J, a contact code for the underground railroad. They help refugees disappear with special operations. 47th Human Expeditionary Fleet. I've seen what the Syndicate does to people. I've also seen what happens when good people have no way out. You reminded me of someone tonight, my daughter. She had your same kindness, your same determination to smile, even when the world was heavy. She served on the colony ships during the Zephion evacuation. She didn't make it back. Maybe helping you is selfish. Maybe I'm just an old soldier who needs to believe he can still do some good. But you deserve a chance. Don't go home tonight. Don't contact your family through normal channels. The Syndicate will be monitoring. Use the underground contact. They'll know how to reach your siblings safely. The universe is cruel, Anna, but it's not without people who still fight for the right reasons. Stay alive. That's an order. Albert. Anna read the note 3 times, her hands shaking harder with each pass. She wanted to dismiss it as paranoia, as the delusions of a damaged veteran seeing threats everywhere. But something in her gut, that primal instinct that had kept her ancestors alive on Zephion Prime, told her the warning was real. She knelt carefully beneath the table, her fingers finding the magnetic case exactly where Albert had described. It was small, black, and surprisingly heavy. When she opened it with trembling hands, everything he'd promised was inside. The ion disruptor gleamed under the diner's lights. Anna had never held a weapon before. On Zephion, her family had been scholars, artists, teachers. Violence was something that happened to other people in other places, but the war had taught her that violence came for everyone eventually. She closed the case, slipped it into her server's bag, and looked around the empty diner. Through the main viewport, she could see the station's commerce level bustling with late-night activity. Somewhere out there, if Albert was right, 3 Syndicate agents were planning her capture. Or worse. Anna pulled out her communicator, then hesitated. Everything Albert had written made sense. The Syndicate's reach was vast, their cruelty legendary. If they wanted her family, if they knew about her father's research before the evacuation, then normal channels were compromised. She needed to trust a stranger, a human veteran who'd left her nothing digitally traceable, but everything she needed to survive. Anna made her decision. She walked to the back office, told her manager she was feeling ill, and left through the main entrance instead of her usual route. Her feet carried her toward Sector 7J, while her mind raced through possibilities, contingencies, fears. Behind her, in the diner she was leaving forever. Table 7 sat empty, except for a single plate and a piece of folded paper. And somewhere on this station, a gray-haired human veteran named Albert sat in a small apartment, monitoring security feeds on an old military-grade terminal. When he saw Anna change direction and head toward safety, he allowed himself the smallest smile. "Good," he murmured to the empty room. "Smart girl." He'd spent 30 years fighting wars for humanity. Tonight, he'd fought a different kind of battle, the kind that didn't make headlines or earn medals, the kind that simply gave one person a chance to see tomorrow in the vast, cold expanse of space. Sometimes that was enough. Sometimes one person choosing to act was the only thing standing between hope and darkness. And tonight, Albert had chosen to be that person, for Anna, for his daughter's memory, for the simple, stubborn human belief that the universe could be forced, one small act at a time, to be a little less cruel.